Good evening. I'd like to call our regular business meeting to order and ask the treasurer to call the roll.
Ms. Adair?
Present.
President Baker?
Present.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Vice President Cole?
Present.
Ms. Gibbs?
Here.
Mr. Ragland?
Recovering.
Thank you. Ms. Reyes? And you have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We are waiting for the South High Bulldogs to arrive. They were going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, but they are tardy because they pace earlier today. They're on their way, so they'll be here soon. So in their absence, I'd like to ask Mr. Oldham, who is our Chief Operating Officer, to come to the podium. There is a Chief Operating Officer Conference in town this week, so I'd like to ask him to come up, and I'd also like to ask if he's willing, Sir Alano Thomas, who is a Boy Scout we are honoring this evening, to come to the podium and join Mr. Oldham, and I'll ask the two of you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would be upstanding.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. All right, thank you very much. On March 23rd, our community received some sad news. We lost a couple community members. And so one was the Reverend Dr. Charles E. Booth, the senior pastor of Mount Olivet Baptist Church. And he did transition peacefully home after a battle with cancer. Originally from Baltimore, Maryland, Pastor Booth preached for more than 40 years at Mount Olivet. During his time in Columbus, he championed the rights of the disenfranchised, the homeless, and less fortunate. He was a true champion of children and the community. He also became a counselor to many across the city, young and old, powerful and average everyday citizens. On the same day, we also learned the sad Ms. Evans, who went missing on January 28th, was a 2008 Columbus Northland High School graduate and a graduate of OSU, a bachelor's degree in journalism, and Kent State, a master's in library science. Ms. Evans, in her short 28 years with us, became a community advocate and social justice leader on issues such as police brutality, police shootings, and juvenile justice. She was an example of our spirit of success and an understanding that no matter your age, you can make a difference in your community and the world. And in a time and place where going along to get along seems to be the order of the day, being an independent voice is discouraged and can be a lonely proposition. And while I don't recall having the pleasure of meeting her, I certainly respected her tenacious pursuit of justice. And knowing that we'll see them on the other side, I'd like to ask you all to please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, let's move on. I'll briefly read through our agenda just so everyone knows the work we have before us this evening. We do have a number of board recognitions that we will take up. We do not have any speakers this evening to provide public testimony. We will then hear from our direct reports with their reports, after which we will hear board matters and then consider our consent agenda. We will then have announcements at the end of our meeting and points of pride from board members. We do not have an executive session planned for this evening, colleagues. Is there a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
That motion carried.
Thank you. And the last thing I'd like to share is you may have noticed we have a new flag out front. And I want to publicly thank Troop 734, who took possession of our old, somewhat tattered flag, and they will dispose of it respectfully at their next flag disposal ceremony. So thanks to Troop 734 and Dr. Rausch for that. Let's move then to board recognitions, and I'd like to call on Board Member W. Shauna Gibbs to share a recognition.
Thank you, President Baker, Vice President Cole, colleagues on the board, and all those attended. We have a tremendous honor today to recognize the accomplishments of Mr. Sir Eleno Thomas on the occasion of him receiving his Eagle Scout Award. And the resolution reads as follows. Whereas the Boy Scouts movement began in London, England on January 24th, 1908, and began in Chicago, Illinois on February 8th, 1910 in America. The mission of the Boy Scouts of America is to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and Scout Law. And whereas each Scout takes an oath to do their best, to do their duty to God and country, and to obey the Scout Law, to help other people at all times, and to keep themselves physically. And whereas each Scout strives to abide by the Scout Law to be trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. And whereas the Boy Scouts of America established the Eagle Scout rank in 1912 as the highest honor in the scouting program, and whereas a scout must submit an application demonstrating the following: serve as an active life scout for at least 6 months, demonstrate scout spirit by living the Scout Oath and the Scout Law as a life scout, earn a total of 21 merit badges, serve actively in one's troop as a life scout for 6 months in a variety of leadership roles within the troop, venturing crew, sea scoutship, or as a lone scout. Plan, develop, and give leadership to others in a service project helpful to any religious institution, school, or community organization as a life scout, and participate in a Scout Master Conference as a life scout. Whereas a scout must successfully demonstrate the achievement of all the aforementioned tasks before the Board of Review for the Eagle Scout rank, and whereas Sir Eleno Thomas has demonstrated strong leadership abilities and has exhibited a strong commitment to the scouting mission, oath, and law, which makes him a clear example of the best qualities of Boy Scouts of America and the World Scouting Movement. And whereas Sir Eleno Thomas recently completed the difficult and demanding requirements necessary to be awarded the rank of Eagle Scouts of America. Now therefore be it resolved that the Columbus City Schools Board of Education hereby recognizes and congratulates Sir Eleno Thomas for achieving the rank of Eagle Scout and demonstrating the Columbus City Schools' spirit of success in the community.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All right, I'm going to ask
Oh, wait a minute.
something else.
Yes, I want to recognize the family.
Oh, Ms. Gibbs.
Yes. You want to vote now or afterwards?
Why don't we take the vote now? Mr. Treasurer, why don't you call the roll?
Thank you. President Baker.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Vice President Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Ms. Adair.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs.
Yes. Mr. Thomas, would you please stand to receive a round of applause? Today, he is accompanied by a strong support system. His grandmother, Miss Emma Thomas, wave your hand, Mother Trebia Thomas, Zach Riggs from his AP, from his school at Centennial High School, and we thank you all for coming out to support him. Yes. You want to call him to the podium?
And I understand that Scout Thomas would like to address the board, so if you would approach the podium, and you may bring up whoever you'd like to come. If your assistant principal would like to come, that'd be great. Thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
It's my privilege to speak on behalf of Sir Eleno Thomas in regards to his Eagle Scout accomplishment. As you know, this year he was awarded the Eagle Scout. However, this journey started years before. He started Cub Scouts in Pack 35 when he was 6 years old and in first grade. His scouting career began by earning belt loops and receiving the Arrow of Light Award for doing 19 out of 20 activities in 4 topics, which is the highest award he could receive in Cub Scouts. As he moved up each rank, he had to prove that he followed and lived by the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. As he progressed into Boy Scouts and joined Troop 007, he got the opportunity to start going to summer camp where he experienced horseback riding, canoeing, fishing, and ziplining. While these things are not things that he got to experience every day, they taught him to be open to trying new things. And he may not have loved all the things that he experienced, but it gave Sir the experiences that helped him push his boundaries. One of the highlights of Sir's scouting experience was his community service at the homeless shelter. He toured the shelter and asked questions, and this experience really stuck with Sir, and he wanted to help. Sir told us that on these experiences, he saw members of the community that suffer from homelessness, and he knew that he could provide some relief. He decided to make first aid kits and children's toiletry bags as his Eagle Scout project. Sir first had to write a proposal and get it approved by the Eagle Scout Review Board. He then completed the review process, and once approved, Sir sought fundraising and asked for donations. After all the hard work, he was ready to stuff the bags with the first aid and children's toiletry items. At the conclusion of this work, he was awarded the rank of Eagle Scout. And we thank you tonight for joining the Centennial High School community and honoring Sir Thomas.
While he may be a young man of few words, I have the privilege of also seeing him in my Sunday class, where he is thoughtful and kind and works diligently on all the tasks given. He is absolutely an incredible young man. It is a privilege to have you both in my district and in my community. I am very proud of you. And Mom, we thank you for all that you do to stay connected and to keep him involved in incredible activities. But I will also be remiss if I did not ask all of the members, and behind me is another amazing scout in the name of Dr. Roush, would all of the members, past and present, of Boy Scouts, if you've ever been a Boy Scout, would you please stand? And if you were ever a member of Girl Scouts, would you please stand? Brownie, Junior, Girl Scouts. We are proud of our work not only with these young people, but with Scouting. Both of them are very strong partners of Columbus City Schools, and they continue to build students of courage, confidence, and character, and we thank them for all that they do in their partnership.
And at this time, we would like to ask Scout Thomas and his family, and perhaps before we do that, let's see if any other colleagues have a comment. Mr. Vice President?
Very quickly. Thank you. I happen to know Sir because Sir belongs to my fraternity's Alpha Esquire program. This is our youth development program. It's a part of our national movement. I'm exceptionally proud of him because I've seen him in that space as a very social young man. He's also a young man that just follows through, listens intently to the brothers, and really does hard work when he's with us. So I'm so very honored to honor you today. Congratulations.
I'll ask Scout Thomas and his family and support staff from school to come on up. We're going to take a photograph. Come right on up to the front. Let's do it in front.
Okay, here we go. Everybody, a couple here. This phone. More. Perfect, thank you.
Congratulations again to Scout Thomas and his family. Next, we're going to recognize the South High Bulldogs, and I'm going to ask Board Member Reyes to read a resolution for us.
Thank you, since I'm the only baller here. Only person that ball, right? I'm the only one that plays. Did you play? You didn't play. See? Only one that played basketball, the shortest one on the board. To recognize the accomplishments of the 2018-19 Columbus South High School boys basketball team. Whereas the team posted a magical season record of going 28-2, which is the most wins in the history of the Columbus South High School. And whereas the team won its second City League championship in the past 3 years. And whereas the team won back-to-back Central District championships. And whereas the team won the school's 4th regional championship to make a trip to the Ohio High School Athletic Association's Final Four state tournament. And the team was this year's runner-up for Division II. The team achieved and held a second ranking in Division II. And senior Trey Watkins earned first team All-City, first team All-District, and third team All-Ohio. Senior Alvin Bird earned honorable mention All-City and honorable mention All-District. Junior Travel Adams earned honorable mention All-City and honorable mention All-District. Junior Marcus Johnson earned first team All-City and third team All-District. And junior second team All-District. And Coach Ramon Spears, with the team's wins this year, achieved an overall record of 120 and 25 over past 5 years. And whereas Coach Ramon Spears earned his second Columbus City League Coach of the Year award and his first Columbus Dispatch All-Metro Coach of the Year award. And whereas the team is the model of the Columbus City Schools' spirit of success. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Columbus City School Boards of Education hereby recognizes the many accomplishments of the Columbus South High School boys basketball team over the course of the year.
And is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer, would you mind calling the roll?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
President Baker?
Yes.
That motion carried.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Director Vincent Clarno to come to the podium, and he'll invite Coach and team members to come on up when he's ready for that. Yes, sir. Principal. Mr. Baker's here somewhere.
Good evening, President Baker, Vice President Cole, Treasurer Bohoric, Internal Auditor Smith, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Dixon. It's exciting to be here again with you, right in such short time. I'm honored to be able to present our school district and, more importantly, their community extremely well during the course of this season. One of the things that occurred over the last couple of days, I had someone ask me about our recognition here tonight, and they said, so you're going to recognize South because they won a few basketball games? And I said, well, let me stop you for a moment. I said, they done so much more than win a few basketball games. I said, first, they won 28 basketball games, right, which is extremely hard. I said, but more importantly, what they did was they inspired a community to hope again. So they won for that community. Then they also won by having a group of students, past and present, who now all of a sudden can be proud again. So they won pride. And then for themselves, as a group of young men who wake up every day and come in and face the challenges that all young people face at all schools, they won dreaming again. Because they dreamed bigger than any of us thought they could dream. They done more than any of us thought they were going to do. And I remember speaking with Coach Spears at the beginning of the season. And he'll often call me at strange hours, I'd like to add. At times I don't want him to call me. And he'll say, well, you seen our team, what do you think? He knows I'm a little bit of a basketball guy. And I say, well, you got a couple good pieces this year. I think you all could make some noise. We woke up somewhere in January. He said, what do you think? I said, you're making a lot of noise. And so then as we kept on going and they continued to win and beat team after team and obstacle after obstacle, they started getting close and people said, well, what do you think now? And Coach Spears talked to me and I said, well, you've made already all the noise you need to make because everyone is sold and everyone young people take this next step. So I'm more than proud and honored to ask Coach Spears to come on up, ask the team to come up behind him and fill in up here close to the podium. All you young men, come on out your rows, come on up. Yes, indeed. So, yes, indeed, and Principal Baker is who I'm calling up next. Principal Baker, he's hiding in the back over there. Okay. We're gonna get Mr. Ed Baker up here. You gotta come on up to the front, sir.
Yes, please.
Indeed. And then also we have the athletic director, who is one of the taller gentlemen in the crowds here. We got a tall bunch, Mr. Reggie Williamson, but I'm going to turn it over to Coach Spears for a moment and allow him to share a few words with all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't really want to take a lot of time. I just want to say I thank you guys for inviting us, and it's always been bigger than basketball with me and my staff, and it's always been about the young man in the community. So that's the big thing about it. Just so happened we had a good season, and but the most thing that I'm proud about is what we did for the community and what we did for themselves and the character that these kids has provided. One thing that I do want to mention is 5 out of my top 6 guys have opportunities to go to college, and 2 of them right now. 2 of them right now have full scholarships. We have 3 seniors. 2 of them have full scholarships. So that's the bigger thing. Winning games and stuff is important and it's great, but it's not as big as just what we did with the community and what we continue to try to do with the community and build pride in South High School. So thank you very much.
And Principal Baker, yes, would you offer a few words of wisdom? And then we'd like for the team members to introduce themselves quickly.
Absolutely. Good evening, President Baker, Vice President Cole, Treasurer Bork, Internal Auditor Smith, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Talisa Dixon. On the behalf of South High School, I would just like to thank you for recognizing our South High School boys basketball team. I do want to take the time to apologize for us running a little late, but these young men have been busy today. And I just want to give you a quick rundown of their schedule today so that you can kind of understand what they're going through. First thing in the morning, 7 o'clock, 7:30, they had to be at school. Air tests. After that, they did their best. They went to a school visit at Livingston Elementary, and they talked to the 5th grade and the 6th grade students, and they inspired them. They went through classrooms. They signed autographs. These young men are model students. And then afterwards, we had an alumni dinner with Miss Angela Pace, who is a South High School alumni, and she told me to give her regards to the board. She said that you guys would understand our tardiness because she had came and spoke some wonderful words to these young men and encouraged them from an alumni's perspective. And then after that, we're here tomorrow. We start all over again. We continue testing their students. They are on a tour for all of our feeder elementary schools, so they're going around and talking to them, and they're being visible in their community. But the one thing that I want to say is, if you get a chance to really know these young men, they're good young men. They're in training to be successful. And as Coach Spears has said, it is way bigger than basketball. This is life training for them. This is leadership training for them. And it just so happened that they made it to the state championship. And unfortunately, we fell short by 4 points, but that's a life lesson as well. So you may fall, but you get up and you continue to swing. You brush your shoulders and you stand tall and you continue to lead. So thank you for giving us this opportunity to recognize these great young men, and I'll turn it over to them as they introduce themselves.
My name is Chaz Thomas. I'm in the 11th grade.
My name is Travell Adams. I'm a junior.
My name is Marcus Johnson. I'm a junior too.
My name is Tryon Watkins. I'm class of 2019.
Alvin Bird, class of 2019.
Marquise Hawthorne. I'm a sophomore.
Costin Pace Morris, I'm a senior.
My name is Maurice Barnes. I'm class of 2021. I'm a sophomore.
My name is Shamar Lindsay, class of 2021.
Coach Milburn Johnson, proud graduate of Columbus Public Schools, 1970.
Assistant Coach Damon Powell, Columbus City School Bus driver as well, and I'm proud coach of these boys here. Thank you.
Assistant Coach Deshaun Marshall, Columbus Public graduate, 1991.
What school, Marshall?
Columbus Northland.
Assistant Coach Sean Witham, and thanks for allowing me to be a part of this community.
We're going to ask all of you gentlemen to join us actually back here on the stage for a photograph. And as you're assembling, I just want to say, as we were tracking your progress, we texted the group, and I asked a question, and I said, who let the dogs out? And Internal Auditor Carolyn Smith responded via text, I let the dogs out. So thank you, Internal Auditor. She went to every game.
She went to every game, every single game. Our auditor. Auditor Smith, you want to join us in this photo? Come on. I know you do. Come on, I know. She rocking her. Who wants to be in the middle?
Me.
Come on.
Treasurer, do you want to be in the photo?
Come on, Caroline.
You're welcome.
We got more space on this side.
That's right.
Mr. Rick, give another row here. Give another row. You're in the middle always.
We appreciate it.
Sorry, I didn't get the blue. Yeah.
Make sure that you're make sure the photographer can see your face. You're in the picture. Smile.
Can you see him? Can you see everybody?
Yep.
All right.
Couple. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. All right.
Congratulations.
Actually, a lot of people that are here sitting on the floor when they're ready for basketball. Matty Baumgartner.
Yes, ma'am.
That's where he's going. Congratulations. But you're kind of
Go to West Virginia State University.
That means they got grades too. Congratulations. I played first string in high
Yeah, we did, man. We killed it.
I had a good field.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And somebody tell Angela Pace that our meeting starts at 5:30. All right, one more round of applause for the Bulldogs, South High Bulldogs. Well, yes, maybe not for public consumption. All right. Right, exactly. All right, that concludes board recognitions this evening. Let's move on to public comment. I do not believe we have any speakers this evening. We do not. Let's move then to our superintendent report. Madam Superintendent, the floor is yours.
So President Baker and members of the board, I have 5 topics that I would like to report on tonight. First, I would like to focus on the infrastructure needs of Columbus Alternative High School. So last November, and then again in conversations in January, February, and March, the board asked administration to study and identify interim alternative solutions for COS. Our operations and capital improvements teams, led by Mr. Odom, began an extensive investigation. They looked at the current infrastructure challenges at COS and how the building is being used. They researched potential alternative locations, both temporary and permanent. They examined the district's current portfolio of buildings, unoccupied and occupied, and looked for potential spaces in non-district buildings. And they calculated the cost. Tonight, I want to share with you I think it's important to clarify that the infrastructure challenges at COS were investigated, and our team concluded that there were no daily hazards nor a health risk to students and or staff members at COS. Yes, some were an inconvenience for students and staff and not conducive to the most optimal climate for learning. And we recognize that these, because of the age of many of our buildings, that these challenges are not unique. However, we're committed to ensuring that our students are learning and teachers are instructing in buildings that are clean and buildings that are safe. So COS is just one of our many districts' older buildings. We have several other buildings, older buildings that were built in the 1970s that still that are still operating from those old steam boiler systems, but they're still operating. And there are others buildings in need of extensive repairs, as noted by the state's facility condition index measurements. These measurements rank the facilities based on conditions of the building infrastructure. We have replaced and rebuilt over half of our buildings since 2002. We also launched Operation Fix It to address the deferred maintenance of the remaining 64 buildings. As a district and as a community, this board, as we mentioned before, we continue to have our conversations about funding for our facilities master plan to ensure equity in all of our facilities. This solution for COS should not be seen as an attempt or endorsement to circumvent the process that we have in place. But here's what our numbers tell us. To build a new high school, the cost estimate starts at $40 million. To relocate to $18 million. To convert an empty big box retail space, we're looking at more than $22 million. Our operations team looked at our existing space in the old Monroe Middle School building. It was too small, as was the old Linmore building, which we recently vacated because of its conditions. Our partners at the city helped to identify several office buildings, but nearly all of them would have required significant upgrades to meet today's safety and space requirements. These spaces don't have gyms, auditoriums, or cafeterias, and those spaces are asset and needed in our modern high schools. So the best solution at COS was to meet the board's request for an interim alternative solution. We thought we would focus on repair, and care for the buildings that we have, and prepare for the greater community, a conversation we need about new buildings in the near future. So step one is to repair. The district is set to invest approximately $1.5 million in infrastructure improvement over a 6-month period. Much of this work is part of Operation Fix-It and will address several of the inconveniences and concerns brought by our COS students. These include modernization of 4 of our restrooms that were originally designed for elementary students and have yet to be updated to accommodate older students. It also includes asphalt upgrades to both parking lots, updated lighting, and replacement of the current fire alarm system. Our building and grounds crew have started on other maintenance efforts at the school, including replacements of a sub pump outside and ceiling tiles throughout the building. And we'll be back during the school day and after to complete additional work orders. Another important part of this investment, we will invest in creating 2 cooling centers, one in the cafeteria and one in the library, to help with the heat in the fall and in late spring. To try to cool the entire building with air conditioning would be cost prohibitive. The initial estimate put in a price tag at well over $3.5 million. So we, as I mentioned, a repair of this part of the plan is already underway. So that leads to the next piece, the care side of this equation. I appreciate that the COS students who were part of the Civic Education Academy have stepped up to foster a constructive dialogue about the building's infrastructure challenges. We value student voice and service learning opportunities that are the genesis of the need to improve our schools in our community. So to those students, I say thank you. And these conversations must continue. And our operations team is committed to establishing a platform for dialogue with students, staff, administrators, and with families to make sure we are aware and talk through facility challenges. We recognize that all concerns may not be immediately addressed. However, and most importantly, you will be heard. During the district's facilities master's planning efforts in 2001 and 2016, the COS building was identified for replacement. And COS should be in the next round of buildings to be replaced when the FMP plan is relaunched. COS and other buildings that are also in need. Funding for that relaunch will need to come as part of a voter-approved bond package. So when it comes time for that conversation, our teams will be prepared with the best numbers to ensure that the voices of the family, students, school staff, and the community members will be included in that process. All of our aging buildings deserve the same attention, and I hope as part of my administration that we can get to a point where we have a shared community expectations about our facilities. At the end of my comments, Mr. Oldham or Dr. Stanford will be able to further discuss the COS plan if needed. So let me move on to my second topic tonight, and that's the countdown to the 2020 census. Yesterday, April 1st, officially put us at 1 year out from the census launch. Roughly 300 federal programs use census-derived data to allocate more than $800 billion in funding annually, including nearly 160 billion just on programs for children. But the Census Bureau has undercounted young children for decades. The 2010 census missed more than 2.2 million young children, and we've learned that Ohio had the 10th highest number of young children living in hard-to-count census tracts. Many kids may not be counted because their entire family is missed due to high mobility, homelessness, and/or language barriers. Sometimes, in the complexity of a multifamily household, adults will fail to count some children because they aren't direct sons and daughters. But we need to count all kids. The undercounting of children puts federal dollars at risk, leading to underfunded programs that are critical for family stability and education. If we don't count our kids, we render their needs. So I've been asked to be a part of the City of Columbus and Franklin County 2020 Census Complete Count Committee. Mayor Ginther and County Commissioner Kevin Boyce asked that I lead the K-12 Education Committee. Over the next year, it would be our mission to encourage our families with school-age children to participate in the census and to help make sure every person in our community is counted. I look forward to sharing with the board updates on our efforts. So moving to topic 3, my 100-day plan. How quickly time flies. So this Thursday will mark my first month in my new role. And I'm proud to say in that short time, I've been able to see how thousands of our students are academically engaged, talked with hundreds of residents and community stakeholders, and met with dozens of staff. Thank you, President Baker and Vice President Cole, for joining me at the Community Exchange in Clintonville, hosted by the Clintonville Go Public, the Clintonville Area Commission, and the University Area Commission, and the Wyland Park Civic Association. We hope to announce the time and place of our next Community Exchange soon. My school explorations last week took me to Linda McKinley and Beechcroft, Johnson Park and Yorktown, Hubbard and Westmount. Let me share that I'm always most impressed when our young people serve as greeters and tour guides. Some of our students are so articulate and engaging. It was amazing at our schools. I will be out at more schools this week and next week, including a plan, it was going to include a planned visit at one school that we had to make a change, last-minute change. I apologize for that. And this week begins a series of conversations with our principals. So the next 2 days, I will be meeting with our as always, I hope folks are keeping up to date on the Mapping Our Success Plan by logging on our website and using the Columbus City mobile app. So our next topic is recruiting a great teacher corps. So thank you again, Vice President Cole, for joining me last week at the Student Teacher Engagement Luncheon. We had dozens of college students performing the necessary student teaching duties in our schools. Many of them have quickly become valued members of the building teams. For those who are doing well and already have kids, best interests at heart, we want to recruit them to stay with us. Out of their recruitment luncheon, which brought together most of the student teachers in our district, our human resources team lined up several interviews. At the same time, our HR team has been attending job fairs at many of our historically Black colleges and universities. And rest assured that they did go to my alma mater, Mississippi Valley State University, as well as several others looking for those top teachers. Of our current contract teachers, less than 25% are persons of color or minority, while more than 70% of our student body are children of color. So we must be intentional about recruiting teachers who look like the students that we serve. Both of these efforts connect with our commitment and our draft strategic plan under priority 4, that we're going to be intentional about recruiting and retaining in priority 4. So we're going to make sure that we're being fruitful and getting to that goal. And finally, my 5th topic is spring break. We actually have one more board meeting before spring break starts on April 19th. Now is a good time for our families to be planning for the week without school. Many of our families may not be have access to activities. But we will be working with our partners in Columbus Park and Rex to encourage our families to log on to Schools Out website to find information about discounted tickets and fee activities across the city. So just log into, again, to the Columbus City Schools mobile app and look for Schools Out, and you will see those activities. And we have the annual Columbus City Schools Day for Families at the Columbus Museum. So that's this Saturday. I know we have Family Day also Sunday, so I'll be there Sunday for any of you guys who want to join us. Saturday from 1 to 5, our families can explore the Museum of Art for free and enjoy student art presentations and performances, gallery activities, and much more. Parking in the museum lot is $5, but it's free in the business lots around the museum. When school is out, either for a week or a weekend, we just want our students to know, we want our students to be safe, engaged, and with adults who care about them. And I'm so thankful for the partners who are making those activities, those educational activities seamless for our students during spring break. And again, we're going to learn some activities during summer break. So President Baker, those are tonight's top 5 topics. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Questions, colleagues, for the superintendent on her report this evening?
Our thorough report. I did want to mention that during the spring break with Columbus Recreation and Parks, not only are there educational activities, but also food. So if our kiddos are hungry, many of the sites will be providing snacks and lunch.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions or comments, colleagues? Board Member Gibbs?
Thank you very much. Thank you for that report. And clearly, do want to thank you for your report in the due diligence in the Columbus Alternative High School research, and looking at the best way fiscally to address it, knowing that we are on the cusp of a new building plan, and according to the facilities master plan, COS is in the very next round to be rebuilt. And definitely want to do that. But I also want to commend you on the teacher recruitment efforts. As we travel and as we listen to young people of what they want to be when they grow up, we definitely want to hear, I want to be a teacher. And making sure we can convert on those high school dreams, collegiate dreams, student teacher dreams, and bringing the best talent into Columbus City when we are competing with schools that have beaches, they got warm weather. You know, it's serious when it's between Ohio and Florida, or Ohio and, you know, Louisiana or California. And so I do want to commend the HR and the recruitment team to continually sell what's great about Ohio, and if there's anything we can do as a board or policies that would help ensure or help support that effort, I would love to hear them come forward. We heard some amazing strategies in some of our sessions, but definitely wanted to highlight the idea that we want people to come into the profession. Here in the paper, what you see on TV, it is very rewarding. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. And Mr. Brown?
And I would add to that, I liked your approach to teacher recruitment. And yes, we do need to be intentional. We do need to make sure we have a teaching force and workforce that reflects this community and our students in particular. One of the things that you may consider with that is some additional efforts with respect to selling the city. And Experience Columbus has an ambassador program. My wife is one of those, but there are lots of folks and lots of experience at Experience Columbus. A lot of what they do may be for tourism and for conventions and conferences, but they also have the resources to be able to help sell the city and the community in ways that we may not think of.
Right. That's a good point. And yesterday, I actually had a meeting at Experience Columbus.
Go ahead.
Right. So we're already starting those conversations about what we can do to add to that workforce. And we should see a big first boom in 2025. So we're going to have some conversations. I met with Alicia Gillison and Peggy Cleary about how we can make sure that we're adding to that workforce through our CTE programs. So
Great.
Thank you.
Very good. Seeing, Board Member Adair. Yes, ma'am.
A comment that Board Member Brown just brought up again reminded me that I wanted to touch on the statement that you said about diversity. And that is important. But I also don't want teachers who are white, right?
Oh, right.
And women and men. It's really about connecting to our students, right? And so Columbus is a place for every teacher. And in our recruitment, we have to make sure we're saying that too. There is value making sure that our students know that they can see, their future in who looks like them, but that's also not the real world too. So we need to make sure they're exposed to all people who can best connect to them and share those core values with them. So this is a district for all teachers, and teachers are an honorable and important profession. And we do support our teachers and want to make sure we have the best quality teachers here for our kiddos.
Yes, agreed.
Very good. Well, thank you, Madam Superintendent. Thank you for the report. Let's move on to our internal auditor. Madam Internal Auditor, have you anything to share this evening with the board?
Yes, I do, President Baker. President Baker, Vice President Cole, and members of the Board of Education. The March 26 Audit and Accountability meeting was chaired by recently appointed Chair Michael Cole. The committee approved the release of 3 audits. The audit reports approved for release were over the Virtual Credit Advancement Program, which I refer to as VCAP, a report over various compliance and management control aspects of the 3rd grade reading guarantee, and a report on management control over the Office of Transportation supplemental transportation, which will be your athletic trips and field trips. The audits resulted in great cooperation by the various staff and the academic and accountability. It's important to note that while there were opportunities for improvement noted during the engagements, there were also areas that tested that resulted in outcomes operating as expected. So if you were to review the executive summary for each report, you will see where some of the objectives had recommendations and some of the objectives had no comments. So if you do see no comment, that's indicating that the objective is operating as intended. Unfortunately, a lot of emphasis is placed on the recommendations versus the positives also. Issues noted, OIA recommendations and management responses have been received for each of the 3 reports. The VCAT report is being amended as requested by the committee, but the other 2 reports have been sent to the board and copies are available on the district website for public viewing. I also provided an update on other activity occurring in the office during the month, which includes the status of the FY19 work plan. I informed the committee that 1 engagement has been added to the review to look into the facts and circumstances related to WCBE, and 1 engagement has been postponed to allow staff to perform the work related to the WCBE. All other work planned is proceeding as scheduled. At the next board meeting, I will go over what I call this dashboard report in more detail. I had planned to do it at this report, but it was in a PDF format, which really did not lend itself to ease of view for a viewing audience, so I will correct that next time and go over that report at the next board meeting. President Baker, this concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Internal Auditor. Are there questions, colleagues, for the Internal Auditor, her report this evening? Thank you very much for providing that report. Mr. Vice President?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick comment. Thank you so much for your work that you've conducted over the year. I also wanted to commend Ms. Gillison, Dr. Dixon, as well as Dr. Michelle Klein and others who spoke to the measures that will be taken for corrective action that deal with leadership in our building and systemically, that deal with our relentless pursuit of academic achievement. So I wanted to make sure I spoke to that. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Cole. Board Member Adair?
I just Also, and I just want to make sure everyone understands that this work is important and that it helps us as a district be stronger and more transparent, and it helps us correct things that need to be corrected before it gets into an issue. And so I know that when your reports were released, there was some scuttle about, look at what is happening again, but it's not happening again because of your work. And that's the whole point of an internal audit and an internal audit system. And making sure that we are doing what we need to do inside. And so again, just want to say that publicly because that work and this work is important and it makes us strong, makes us stronger, and your team is doing amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're here. Any other comments? Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Internal Auditor. We do appreciate your work. Mr. Treasurer, have
Yes,
you
sir.
a report for the board this evening?
I do not, President Baker.
You do not. Well, thank you for being here at any rate.
Thanks for having me.
And welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We do have item 8, 2 items, just notification of action of designee, and you can read those. No action required. Let's move on then to our consent agenda. Is there a motion that we approve it as presented? I move we approve the consent agenda. Mr. Brown, is there a second? All right, colleagues, any questions or comments on any piece of legislation contained within the consent agenda this evening? Yes, Ms. Gibbs.
As always, want to thank the family of Frank and Ruth Smith for their donation in support of the people on the South Side, and to all of the students who are in 13.6 in our adult high school diploma program, who have persisted to pursue their dreams and will be high school graduates. Congratulations stage at one of our ceremonies or honors and recognitions.
Absolutely. Thank you, Board Member Gibbs. Anything else, colleagues, that we should discuss related to the consent agenda? I do know that Ms. Adair will be abstaining on one item, and she will enunciate that during the voting portion. If there's nothing else, Mr. Treasurer, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes, with the exception of 16.1, from which I abstain.
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Thank you, colleagues. Let's move on then to announcements. Have any of you any points of pride or announcements you might like to share with those assembled here this evening? Mr. Vice President?
Just a very quick one. Again, to the meet and greet of the student teachers was a wonderful experience for me. I always enjoy having the opportunity to see the light in the eyes of so many of these emerging professionals who are going to work with our district, who I hopefully will work with our district. I again want to commend so many of our staff who were present, Ms. Maria Stockard, who led that event, and our HR team that did an outstanding job of laying out the red carpet for those, what I'm going to name and claim, are prospective employees of Columbus City Schools. So just thank you for that. It was a wonderful experience.
Board Member Gibbs?
I want to announce that next Tuesday is the Innovation and Reform Committee meeting. It will be held on Tuesday, April 9th, 5 p.m. I think 5:30. We're going to start at 5:30. The Assembly Room, and on the 17th, we are going to have an orientation to the Innovation and Reform and the Board External Monitoring Committee. So anyone it will also be here in the Assembly Room. Anyone, the viewing and the listening public who is interested in those two committees, we'll ask you to join us there, and we'll review those roles and responsibilities.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Board Member Brown?
And thank you, Ms. Gibbs, for reminding me that we do have a policy review committee meeting this week, Thursday morning, the 4th, at 8:30 in the morning. It'll be upstairs in the cabinet room, and public is welcome to join us. And we've had a number of public members coming, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Colleagues, anything else? Board Member Reyes?
Yes, thank you, President Baker. I just wanted to, last night I attended the Kappa's announcement of their Broadway series for the 2019-2020 season. But one of the great things that they mentioned, they now have an education committee within the organization that is working with our students and students throughout the city. I want to thank, and I don't remember the names, unfortunately, of the individuals that provided over 35 free tickets to Hamilton, to our Columbus City School kids to attend. So I want to publicly thank them for that, and I know that there are new things coming down the horizon. They are, on their website, they are providing opportunities for 10 local theater groups, different schools, that provides 2 students the opportunity to be lead actor and lead actress, and the reward is to go to New York and actually appear on a Broadway show. So I encourage all of our districts, I'll make sure I share that information. And actually, one of the winners sung last night at the release, so it was kind of interesting to see that this young man had just been in high school 2 years ago, and now he's starring on Broadway in Canada for one of the shows, so inspiring. Also, I had the privilege to attend a workshop with Dolores Huerta, which is the Latino version of kind of MLK, and a lot of our students, Latino students, also attended that. They were well behaved, they asked some great questions, so it's a good representation of our children attending functions outside of school hours and just being able to engage and be around a idol that is getting up on age. So they'll remember her words of wisdom. And I'm sure I wanted to thank Director Johnson. Outside of the board, I work at a community center, and there are people in this community really going out and getting feedback from every corner of this community on the Hilltop Early Child Care and Education Center that will house many of our children. So I want to thank you for going out and getting everybody's voice to make sure that that is. And I'm sure many of my other colleagues, I attended a great conference this weekend, the National School Boards Association Conference in Philadelphia. It was good and it was bad. And I'll say it was, the bad part was that I would attend some sessions, and as some of these presenters spoke, we were already doing a lot of the great things they were talking about. So I was like, oh my God, I'm here to learn. But obviously that's good because it gives us pride that there's districts out there that have strategic plans but no mission or vision statement. There are organizations out there that are not even at any of those 3 stages, don't have goals, are just starting off, have got a lot of things that they're still working on. But then we also saw some very good success of high poverty, high performing schools, models of success, some materials that we'll bring back. Talking about recruiting, they had a great workshop. Unfortunately, I went to another one on HR and how your HR department can influence the recruitment, retention of not only teachers, but administrators and the whole staff. This year, they went very digital. So we don't have big books to bring everybody, which is good and bad because I had a lot of great reading material last year. And we have a lot of slides that we can share with you. And I took notes on some of our slides. Just a very good opportunity for us to learn. A lot of superintendents there, Dr. Dixon, even though it's a school board function. But I know you are very, very busy. But just I think there's also an opportunity, made me proud that we already have. I think we have an opportunity to share that with the rest of the world, to let them know all the great things that are happening in Columbus City schools, and maybe in the future present some of our good work, some of our talented teachers, because a lot of these superintendents are and board members are very hungry to hear about good things going on so they can take best practices and implement them in their districts. Every time we sat down at luncheon or at breakfast, they were asking us, what did you guys do with this? How do you handle this? From parent issues to community issues to funding formulas to expanding schools and programming. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to be a part of that.
Thank you, Board Member Reyes. Mr. Brown?
I apologize, but there is one additional thing I want to mention. In addition to commending you, I think that getting done before 7 is wonderful. So keep
Thank
it
you.
up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
The other item I want to mention,
Well, you have 1 minute.
and it's not too soon to mention, coming up on May 3rd, Friday at lunchtime, is the City of Columbus Yom HaShoah Remembrance Celebration. And the schools are participants in that. When I was there as the vice president, I tried, and ever since, we've been trying to increase participation so that our students can learn from that experience messages that are very important about diversity and welcoming and how you treat people, as well as the knowledge of that event. So our invited teachers are invited to have their classes, and I want to, it's not too soon for us to begin working to make sure that that happens. So thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Gibbs?
Brown, can you tell us what is Yom?
Yom HaShoah is the Holocaust. It's the day of remembering what happened during the Holocaust. The Jewish community, certainly worldwide, remembers on this day what happened, and the lesson in part is never again. It means that there's an obligation for us and for all of us to stand up and say something when there is evil in the world, when people are hating each other. If you stand silent, they win. You have to stand up to that kind of evil and speak out and say, this cannot happen here in America or anywhere. Frankly, there are more reasons than ever these days to have to speak up, stand up against hate. The Holocaust that occurred in my grandparents' lifetime.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So
Board Member Gibbs?
I had one thing, but thank you for explaining that. Otherwise, people may have thought it was a purely religious.
And I apologize.
No,
it's
you did
not
it.
that.
No, you
And
did
I
it.
should have known to explain it.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
you've done a great job. And to Board Member Reyes' point, unfortunately, while we had a great command of a lot of the topics, unfortunately, the topic of school safety dominated a lot of the sessions. And those things that get away from us when people who are not kind and civil think of ways to bring that into our schoolhouses. And so we'll have a report to the board about those sessions here shortly. But I didn't want something to get away, and someone thought they were going to sneak out the door without us recognizing that it was his last day.
Oh, I wanted to do that.
Okay, well then tag.
All right, thank you. So, and he flies under the radar, but he's an effective administrator, and that's David Baker. So he's leaving us. He's going to the Ohio Department of Education. No, I'm not clapping for that either, but we just want to acknowledge your work here at the district. I know that the new position you'll be assuming is one you're excited about, so we wish you all the very best in your future endeavors, and Godspeed, and don't forget about us. Thank you very much. All right, colleagues, is there a motion? Oh, I beg your pardon. Board Member Adair.
Super talkative today. I just want to give a huge shout out to all of our students, our super readers, who are doing that air test, who took that air test last week, or doing it. They know that as they sit there in front of those laptops and computers and tablets and all that stuff. That's not how I did it, but that's how they do it now, everyone. They know their grown-ups believe in them. So I just want to make sure that we
Absolutely.
recognize them.
Thank you for that. And now, would someone like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting? Second. Moved and seconded, and hearing no objection, Mr. Treasurer, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
That motion carried.
We stand adjourned. I thank you. Have a good evening.